Hello friends, my name is Nate and welcome back to the channel. Today it's time to pick out August's TBR. You have to forgive me, I'm coming off like a 10-day chest infection, so my voice is a little bit croaky still, so I do apologise for that. But regardless, I wanted to jump into picking August's TBR. Now, for July, I actually ended up having a very bad reading month. I was reading Butter for a friend book club, and it kind of put me in a massive reading slump because I just really didn't enjoy it, but I was like forcing myself to finish it for the book club. A mix between that and being poorly put me in a bit of a reading slump. I only ended up reading, or hopefully will have finished reading, 4 books by the end of July. So I read Butter, I read Murder on the Orient Express, which was one of my prompts, and then I will hopefully have finished Gregor the Overlander, which is a very small book, and then The Two Towers, which is a book I had already started regardless. So not the best reading month in July, but that is fine. My character was not successful in beating the dragon, but that is fine. I will add them back into the slot and we'll start again for August. Now, before I jump into my roles for August, I do want to do a little spin of a wheel to pick out 2 different prompts from Herkid to concentrate on the month. I didn't do this in July, and although I have figured out what some of my books are going to fit prompt-wise, I think I want to do this as a bit of a focus, just so that I am still making Herkid a bit of a priority. So I've made a little spinner wheel. I'm going to spin it twice, pick 2 prompts, and hope to try and match it up. If I can't get all of the books in these like little categories, that's fine. I'm just going to kind of do the best that I can. So we're going to start with spin number 1. Is Shiritori, which I'll go over that in a minute. And then if I hide that slice, spin it again. I must endeavour to acquire these creatures. So those are actually quite nice broad ones. I must endeavour to acquire these creatures is essentially having to read 5 books that are inspired by different kind of types from a very popular catch them all kind of game, but obviously you're not using the right names. So anything that I think could interpret any one of those types, which is like bug, electric, fire, water, grass. So a very broad prompt. Anything that like kind of, I guess, how you interpret it. And then Shiritori is, I believe, is it again another 5 book prompt? It is to start with a book and then take the last letter of that book's title, and the next book has to start with that letter. So if I read Kindred, the next book would have to start with a D. So again, that should actually be pretty simple to do, because also I don't have to necessarily start with the first book that I pick, but it's one I'm going to keep in mind while picking out my books. Cool. So those are the 2 prompts that I'm going to go ahead and pick. Try and concentrate on in August. So without further ado, let's jump into role number 1 for August. Everything is all shuffled, however I do need to start by picking out my hero for the month. And that is the wizard, who lets you use an additional d6 for 1 roll, which is lovely. I'm not going to use it straight away, I'm just going to start with my d20, so let's go for August, which is a 14, using this little Kakashi figure. So we go through the door, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and it's a prompt card. And the prompt is Asian author. Book number 1 for Asian author, I'm going to go with The Floating World by Axio. This is the same author that wrote The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which I actually really enjoyed. I believe that she is a Korean-American author. And this is one I got a couple of, maybe last year, in a Fairy Lou, I think, YA. I don't actually know what it's about. We're following 2 different characters, Sun-Ho and Ren. And Sun-Ho lives in the underworld, in a land of perpetual darkness, possessed being just his name and his sword. He comes across the score of a lifetime, a chest of coins for hunting down the girl who wields silver light. Ren is a spirited acrobatic travelling with her family. Everything changes, however, when they are attacked by demons and she lets out a silver light. Their paths end up crossing. I think a romance starts to form, but they don't really realise, though, that they are, I guess, she's being hunted by him. He doesn't realise that she's the one he's hunting for, that kind of thing. This one, obviously, I could work for my Shiritori if I find a book starting with D. However, I think this could also work for the acquired creatures as floating world. There's lots of like clouds. I could go for flying, as there is a type that is flying. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to kind of put these in. It could work for both of them, seeing as I'm trying to make every book account for at least 2 prompts. So if I could get that for both of them, that would be grand. I really enjoyed The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. I found it very whimsical and really just like a very nice, comforting kind of read. I really enjoyed it, so I was really happy to get this one in that book box, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading it and seeing what I think. So that is going to be book number 1 for August. Roll number 2, and I'm going to add in the d6. So that is a 9 and a 5, so that is a 14 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 again, which is another prompt card. And this prompt is Readers Also Enjoyed. So for Readers Also Enjoyed, this is essentially just to take the last book that you picked, scroll down on the bottom at Goodreads to where it says Readers Also Enjoyed, and just pick a book from there. And I actually owned a few of the books that were listed on there. And so the book I'm going to pick for this one is Never Ever After by Su Lin Tan. This was one, again, that I got from Fairy Loot last September. And I'm not sure actually, was it the YA or adult? It was another young adult fantasy. And I think this one is also like Asian inspired. It is life in the Iron Mountains is harsh and unforgiving. After the death of her beloved uncle, Ying has only survived as a skilled thief and an even better liar. But when she acquires an ancient ring that holds the key to a brighter future, it is stolen by her step-aunt, and Ying must venture into the imperial heart of the kingdom to seize it back. Not going to read anything else for this one, but yeah, this is a gorgeous edition, and so I would really like to get to it. I think I could use this for water as type, since there is quite a decent amount of water on the front. But yeah, obviously as I read the books, I might end up finding that they work for other kind of prompts as well. Doesn't quite work with Shiratori just yet, but could for down the line. N and R are pretty popular letters. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that as well, actually. So that will be book number 2 for the month of August. Roll number 3 is a 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and that is a pink. So landed on purple or pink, and that is the TBR jar. This has a load of books that I bought from 2023 and before. Really trying to concentrate on getting some of these read. There is a decent amount in there though. So let's pick out one and see what it's going to be. Obviously I can't purposely pick this one out to pick those 2 Herculean prompts, but I can try and see what I get. Okay, this is Across the Nightingale. Let me go and grab it, because this is kind of a random one. It's actually right here. Across the Nightingale Floor. This is by Lian Hearn, or Lian Hearn. And this was one I picked up at a charity shop. Yeah, I think this was one I picked up at a charity shop. It is the first book in the Tales of the Otori trilogy. Takeo is the only survivor when a brutal massacre wipes out his village. That day he cheats death, but his life will never be the same again. Rescued and then orphaned by the mysterious Lord Otori Shigeru, Takeo starts a new life as the heir to the Otori clan, but a sinister organization called the Tribe claims him as their own and the dark plans for his future. But Takeo has incredible magical powers. He can make himself invisible. He can be in 2 places at once. He hears what other people cannot. These skills make him the perfect assassin, a deadly weapon for the tribe. Pretty interesting that so far I've got 3 different Asian-inspired fantasies. I'm guessing this is a fantasy. But yeah, I've heard nothing about this one. I've never seen anyone talk about it. It was just a random one I came across at a charity shop. It's starting a new series though. Actually, I think all of these are starting new series, which isn't good. I've got like 60 ongoing series, but I've owned this one for a while, so let's see what it's like. Hopefully I get to it. So far my Shiratori isn't going well. And I don't think this could work, although it looks quite dark, so it could maybe work for dark prompt. But yeah, some of these prompts are going to be better to look at post reading them, because I'll know after reading them if I think they fit a bit better. But regardless, that is book 3 for the TBR. Roll number 4 is an 18. Lush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is the blue, which means another prompt card, which is a random colour. Perfect. Let's get out, let's get Safari up, and we'll do a random, which actually I was already on random colour, so I'm just going to kind of refresh it and see what it gives me. Okay, it gives me a very bright blue colour. So let me see what I can find, see if I can make it fit in Shiratori. So for random colour generator for that lovely blue colour, I'm going to go for a book that actually isn't going to fit either of those Herculean prompts, but does work for another 2 that I had in mind. And that book is Allegiant. Allegiant by Veronica Roth, the 3rd and final book in the Divergent trilogy. The prompts that I was planning on using this for was the Herculean mashup, and the 2 prompts that I was going to mash up was read a 500-page plus book in less than 24 hours and a 24-hour readathon, and my goal was to try and binge this in one day. So I'm going to use it for Herculean mashup, and actually it could then also work for Shiratori. It ends in T, and the floating world starts in T. So actually, yeah, that works fine for those 2 prompts. So that's the book that I'm going to pick for random colour. It is also the one that matches pretty perfectly in terms of the blue. I had a couple of others I was looking at, but I think that blue is a pretty decent match. So yeah, I'm going to finally finish out this trilogy just in time for a Veronica Roth's reboot of this series, which depending on how I finish this series, I might end up just listening to the audiobooks of those just to see what I think about them. I haven't loved this series, to be honest. They've both been 3 stars for me, but I am interested to see how it finally ends, wraps up in this one. Although I did end up getting spoiled for what happens kind of towards the end of this. I hadn't been, like, the whole time it had been released, no spoilers, and then when the reboot got announced, I got spoiled. But regardless, I'm going to get on with this book and see what I finally think, and hopefully read it in 24 hours, and it is over 500 pages. That would just be like a fun challenge that I want to do for myself anyway. Right, we are on the home straight now, so roll, I think, number 5. 16. Will this get us back? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That landed us perfectly. So that is a dragon book. And the dragon book, which has to be read last, is the longest book. The longest book on my TBR. Okay, give me a sec. And finally, we reached the end. Now, only 5 books this month, which is very nice, seeing as I had a really bad July reading month. This, I think, I hopefully will be able to manage for to do. However, the Dragon book ended up being the longest book, so it had to be the longest book that I could actually read. I had a couple of the Stormlight books, which I've not even started, so like I couldn't start them, and then there was like a third book a series I haven't started and whatnot. So it came down to a book that was 848 pages, and I technically have started this, but I am going to start again. I'm only about 50 pages in, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I did enjoy what I started reading of it, but I had it as a ebook and then never carried on with it, and then I ended up picking this up quite cheap on Vinted. So yeah, technically Day of Fallen Light has more pages than this, but I'm going to read it in publication order. This, I don't know much, well, from what I read, this I think it's a sapphic story, although I don't know how much the romance is compared to the fantasy in a world. And I enjoyed what I read. Can't quite describe what I read. It was very much kind of still world building and lore building at the point that I had read up to. It is a world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The house of Berthanet has ruled Ines for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Saban IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are creeping closer to her door. An outsider at court, although she has risen to the position of a lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to the hidden society of mages. Ad keeps a watchful eye on Saban, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tane has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make the choice that could see her life unraveled. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to parley and focuses on chaos arising from their sleep. Forces from chaos arising from their sleep, I should say. If you are not familiar with my TBR game, the Dragon book has to be read last. The idea is that you're working your way through the Banquet, fueling yourself for preparation for defeating the dragon. So this book does have to be last, and I'd like to give myself at least a week, maybe 2, to get this read, although I will have access to the audiobook somewhere, so like I will use that as well. But it is quite a chunky book. But that is the book that I ended up making last. Let's do a little recap of what books hopefully I will be reading and where they fit along some prompts. This book could absolutely work for the dragon prompt for I must acquire those to catch these creatures. So this is the stack. It's actually pretty decent. I have The Floating World by Axio for Asian author, Never Ever After by Su Lin Tan for readers also enjoyed, Across the Nightingale Floor by Leon Hearn. This was a TBR jar pick, Allegiant for colour pick, and Priory of the Orange Tree for longest book on my TBR. I'm feeling pretty decent about that. I can get a bit of a Shiratori going on with 2 of these books, and then I can just fit other books down the road in, and then I could easily make all of these fit, or at least these 4 fit for different creatures, I think. And then yeah, I'm going to try and do my mashup with this one. So I'm feeling pretty happy actually with that. I'm looking forward to these books. There are always other books that I would like to get to throughout the month. At the moment, I don't have any picks for my book clubs. I'm up to date, so no idea what those are going to be. But if one does end up cropping up, I could always sub one of these out down the road if I need to. I'm going to cut this one short though, because my voice, I am losing it slightly. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought. I'd love to know. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you again hopefully soon. Bye guys.